In this episode, we're going to talk exactly how I bought my first home from the beginning of the process to the very end. Let's get into it. Hi, my name is Austin. Welcome to Wealthy with Austin. Where's the wealth? It's up in here, about to get transferred to you. Let's hope for no more corny phrases in this episode. Okay. I bought my house in 2021. So to start things off, I wanted to buy real estate as early as 2018 because I had a full-time job, I had an income, I had money flowing in, of course not a lot, but I wanted to put that money to work. And I had family members that were in real estate and had seen some great net worth increases because of that. So I wanted to get on the action, but I also wanted a duplex. Unfortunately, I did not have enough income to qualify me for a duplex at that time, so I went back to school, yada yada. 2021, I had another job making more money, but real estate prices had appreciated so much that even though I had more of an income, I still couldn't afford a duplex. So what did I do? Well, how did I save up for a down payment? Easy. I was living in my parents' basement at the time. COVID had hit while I was mid-school, and I was actually living there in their hallway. Story for another time. But I was saving 80 to 90% of my income and living very frugally. That goes without saying. I did not own a car. I did not own anything except some student debt. And so what I did was I just saved up for 4 months straight until I had enough to consider starting to look for real estate. At that time, I called a mortgage officer, which I had done in 2018 as well, but didn't have enough to qualify for the house I wanted. So I called another one. I actually called around. I called several of them just to see what types of rates they could offer, what types of fees they had, and found out that they were all pretty much similar. So I went with the one that had the best customer service, at least the one that I thought did, and the best reviews. Now, if I'd thought about it more, maybe I would have gone with someone that had come recommended to me from someone that another family member or friend had used, but I did not think that through. However, I was pretty lucky. They were a great mortgage company to go with, and they told me exactly how much house I could afford, at least how much monthly debt burden I could handle. They said I could maybe qualify for a $2,000 all-in mortgage that includes principal, interest, taxes, insurance, and HOA, and mortgage insurance. So with that in mind, I knew that based on current interest rates, I could only afford a house that was up to maybe $390,000, maybe $400,000. And in my area in Utah, house prices were super duper high, and that meant that I still could not afford a duplex and would have to start looking at single family homes or townhouses or condos. So I actually helped a family member get into a duplex. That's another story for another time, but really happy for them. But I started looking around at houses after about 4 months of starting to save up aggressively. I got a real estate agent on my side in order to be able to look at said houses. Some houses I just went to because there were open houses, and to do that I went to redfin.com, searched for my area, and then there's a little checkbox that says open house, and it showed me all the dates and times that homes were having open houses, and I made it my mission to attend several every Saturday. So I started putting in offers on some of these townhomes and single family homes. Unfortunately, the market was such that people were putting list prices. So a townhome would say, hey, this one's selling for $320,000. So I'd put in an offer for $320,000. And guess what? I'd get beat out by 10 other people who wanted that place more than I did, even though I, offered more than list price. So I started increasing my bid and still got outbid every single time. So much so that a lot of times people didn't even get back to me saying that they had formally rejected my offer. And I'd have to reach out to the real estate agent and say, hey, is this place still up for sale? Or, where does my offer stand? I'm looking to put an offer on another place. Should I be concerned about maybe getting a counter offer? And the real estate agents would say, yeah, sorry, your offer was like not even in the realm of what they were willing to accept based on the other offers they got. So that was a little depressing. After a while, I started looking at places that were not, the best condition, but and had also been on the market for a while. And a while back then was 14 days. That was way longer than average. And I came across, and I'll show you this beauty here. As you can see, the exterior looks a little bit worse for wear, and it is. Some shrubs here that have not been trimmed in some time, an uneven step, so not the best first look at a property. And if we look inside, you can see, okay, 30, maybe 40 years old. Furniture is kind of garbage. The lighting could be improved. Of course, they used really good, they touched up these pictures really well. But even that can't really hide the fact that these windows are garbage. Excuse my French. Anyway, just looking at this briefly, you can see there's some opportunities here for some cosmetic improvements. But really, I came into the home buying experience with the goal in mind of just getting into real estate, and I wanted to be able to, if I wanted to, rent out the entire house for more than the mortgage would cost me. So, how much do you think this house went for? As I told you already, it was on the market for 14 days. When I reached out to them, I put in an offer. They were asking for, drum roll, $360, and I said no way. I offered, just based on the fact that it had been on the market for 14 days. I knew that they probably hadn't gotten any offers, or at least any offers that they really liked, at least any full price offers. So I offered $335,000, and they countered at $345,000, and so I accepted the offer. Now, before I made the offer, I went through the house and looked at it, and it was fine. I knew that I could rent it out for maybe call it about $1,760 all in, and sure enough, that's what it did end up renting out for. But I don't want to get ahead of myself. We settled on a price of $345,000. So I'm just going to go through this little reference sheet that I use every time I'm considering buying a house, just to see if it would make any kind of sense. And actually, I have friends and family members that have also used this, and it is very spot on. So I used a conventional loan. I had terrific credit of 760 or above will get you the best interest rates. Rents, I knew I could get $1,760 for it. Down payment, I was willing to put 5% down because that was, at the time, I think that was the minimum that I could put down and get great interest rates and use a conventional loan. So we'll put 5% there. There we go. And the interest rate that I was able to get was 2.875%. Now that is a great interest rate. In a sec, I'll actually go through what it would be if I use today's interest rate. And spoiler alert, I would not be able to afford this house. HOA fee was zero. It was not in an HOA neighborhood, which worked out to my benefit. Monthly monthly insurance was about $70. Annual taxes of about $3,000, and monthly, we won't go through utilities, repairs, and improvements because that's not part of the mortgage, which was my goal. So I think at the time it was okay. So here's the thing: at the time, annual taxes were $2,000. The next year, because property prices had gone up so much, they raised my annual taxes to $3,000, which was insane. And I actually fought them on it. They were going to raise it to $3,500. I fought them on it. They lowered it to $3,000. But at the time that I bought it, yeah, this is what it was. So principal plus interest was around $1,360. Property taxes, home insurance, mortgage insurance, because I put down less than 20%. They charge me a little extra every month just to make up to de-risk the asset, I guess you could say. So all in, my total expenses were around $1,678. Total rents that I could get if I were to fall on financial hardship or whatever were $1,760, leading to a slight net gain. Now, should I fall on financial hardship and have to move out? I did not fall on financial hardship. In fact, the deal that they make with you in order for you to be able to put down less than 20%, which I did, I put down 5%, was that you intend to live in the property for at least 1 year. And I did that. I lived in the property for 1 year, but I also rented out some of the other rooms that helped supplement what I was bringing to the table for the mortgage expense. So by the time I did move out a year later, I was making in excess of the total expenses, and I did have a net gain on the property, which was great. Congrats to me. Back to the buying process, I realized it was financially worth it for me, and so I moved forward. I did an inspection on the place. I paid an inspector. I think it was somewhere between $200 and $300 to go in. They check out the roof, make sure that the roof is solid. The roof on this home was replaced in 2019, so I knew there would probably be no issues with that. They check the foundation. They check plumbing, electrical, anything that they can see that might be wrong with the place. They check and they check the water heater, the furnace, and there were a few orange flags that came up in my inspection report, like the furnace is 28 years old and the water heater isn't strapped or earthquake strapped. There's no sprinkler system in the lawn, front or back. The windows are ancient, and so there's a huge amount of heat and cool air that leaks out and in, depending on the time of year. So, and the attic didn't have great insulation. So a few of these things, I came in knowing that in time I'd have to replace some things, and that was fine. Over time, I knew I'd increase the rental amount by maybe 3, maybe 4% per year. And so a few years down the road, I'd be bringing in a sufficient amount to put a good chunk aside every year for these repairs. And I actually did upload a video showing what some of those repairs were in the first year, if you want to look at that. And I uploaded a video showing what specifically were some of the water-related repairs that happened on this house. That being said, the inspector did do a radon test that came back with acceptable radon levels. I did a mold test. I did a meth test as well, and both came back clean. So with that cleanish bill of health and it being very much a seller's market, I didn't feel like I had sufficient leverage to, go to the table again and say, hey, I want price reductions or I want concessions for this and that. I just said, in this environment, I'm lucky to get this place. And I did a comparable analysis, as did my real estate agent, to show that, yeah, for, a 4-bedroom, 2-bathroom house, even in this condition, this is a very fair price. So, I ended up closing the deal. I made sure I had enough money in my accounts. My mortgage company did another checkup on my employment, and I had to intermittently send them documents to make sure that I had enough money to bring enough to closing and enough in reserves to cover emergencies. But all that being said, it was a pretty simple, straightforward process. It took about, call it 4 weeks. It would have been 3, but or was it 3.5? But I did ask for a slight extension just to be able to get a meth test done. Better safe than sorry. And I was happy. So, and then I came to the closing table. I signed way too many documents and got the keys a couple days later and moved in. So, yeah, that is pretty much the story from front to back. Here we can see that between principal paydown, price appreciation, and would I invest all of the cash that would come from the profits over the next 30 years, my house created net worth would be north of $2 million, which is, pretty good. In 30 years, I'd at least be worth $2 million. And if I was renting out the house at that time with the house fully paid off, it would be cash flowing me $36,000 a year. That is not bad. I'm going to be uploading this tool to, somewhere. So stay tuned if you want access to it. I'll be happy to share it with you in the future, along with some other very helpful sheets. So now let's do the experiment and say if I bought this home today at the same price, just with today's interest rates, what would that all-in yearly cost be, and what would that do to the house created net worth? Well, today as I was driving by, there was a billboard on the freeway that showed that interest rates were 6.76%. So changing that simple number increases the principal and interest to $21.28, and $21.28 minus the $13.60 that it was before is an increase of $768. And if I actually do this, it'll show me what percent that increased by. Change that to percent. That is an increase of, no way, 156%. Okay, so that is 56%, which is still a lot, and as you can see, total expenses are above the threshold of what I would be able to afford. Man, my voice keeps cracking. That's embarrassing. So, I would likely not want to, cover the $8,000 a year that the property would incur on me if I were able to rent it out at $1,760 a month. So, yeah, I would not buy this property at today's interest rates, and I completely understand that interest rates were probably the main reason that I was able to afford that property 4 years ago. And it's actually the property I'm sitting in now. So, spoiler alert, I moved out for 2 years, moved back into the same property. So anyway, that is my experience purchasing my first property, and my experience owning the property is, I'll be posting about it, and I already have as well. I also purchased a second property 2 years later. How did I do that? Well, interest rates were higher, 5.75%. I'll leave that spoiler with you and let you know maybe next time how I bought my second property, even at higher interest rates, and also it was a lot more expensive than my first. Stick around, subscribe if you want to stay tuned for my story about how I bought my second property, and hopefully I provide a lot of value for you. That's my goal here. I want to do for you what others didn't do for me, or at least what I didn't take advantage of, which is learn from others' stories, others' experiences, and my hope is that my experiences have not just been for me, but that they can aid you in your journey as well. So stay tuned. Have a great day. We'll see ya.